Children should do sport, and that's my personal opinion. However, it is founded on good knowledge and experience. Knowledge because I'm an exercise professional with a master's degree in exercise science and a sports scientist. So I know the research. I'm going to share a bit of that with you later on in the session. But also, because I've been a kid, I don't look it and I still have the attitude of a kid, but I used to be a kid. Yes, I did, a long time ago. Well, going back, I'm 55 years of age now, and I'll give you a little bit of my history of how sport, and my sport, particularly martial arts, really helped me go from a very, shy kid with no confidence into a confident young man who's achieved many great things, to me anyway, in my journey, in my life. I was actually born in New Guinea, up there above Australia. It's a third world country, and had a very simple upbringing. Schooling was always a little bit behind the 8 ball up there, but I enjoyed a very active life in the outdoors. And when I came down to Australia at age around about 10 years of age, I was sort of, thrown into the Australian culture. The schooling system was far more advanced, and all of a sudden I was way behind. And that really brought my confidence way down to its lowest level. So much so I had a quite significant speech impediment, means I could barely put 2 words together. I used to stutter, and I'm not exaggerating, that's how bad it was. Therefore, I said nothing, and I went internal, and my self-confidence came down, my self-esteem came down, and I was the dummy in the class. I went to grade 4. I remember my first spellathon. I got like 5 out of the 100 words right, the 95 I got wrong, and now I'm officially the dummy. So much so, they kept me behind in school grade. Now I go into the new year, and all the kids go, oh, here's the dummy who got kept behind. So I was labelled the dummy. A dummy because I couldn't speak. And when I did try, I stuttered or I said nothing, and my school marks in grade 4 were D's. Back then it was A, B, C, D. D is the lowest you could get, A is the highest you get. So I was at the bottom half of the class that made the top half possible, but I was at the very bottom that made the top possible. Now this is quite a challenge as a young kid. Where do I go from here? I'm drowning in low self-esteem, low confidence. And I'm getting in a lot of fights as well because kids were picking on me. Therefore, the only way I could express myself is fighting. And so I was always being bullied on the playground. I always fought back. And then I got introduced to martial arts. At that time, my parents were sending me to special therapy. Now I'm classified as the special therapy kid. He's the special kid who has to leave school I always remember, at around about 2 p.m. on Tuesdays afternoons to go and get special therapy, a speech therapist, and or get me doing all this weird stuff. None of it worked. But I took up martial arts, and my first was judo. And that way I could express myself in a very physical way. What's really interesting is I realised I was actually quite good at it because I didn't require me to speak. It just required me to take action and to follow a process to get an outcome. And I found that really simple. Follow the process, get the outcome. Do this, do that, throw someone. Do this, do that, armbar them or hold them down. And I really, really loved that. And I got really good at judo. And then I started taking up other sports like Australian football rules or AFL, and I found I was really good at that. And all of a sudden I was at the top of my sporting and the top of my judo, and I was really good at cricket and all those physical things. That really gave me the confidence that started to transfer into my own self-confidence and into my schooling. So what happened over many, many years as I was physically training and getting fitter and stronger, when I was around about 12 years of age, I remember coming across these springs. Those used to be springs to build muscle. So I was doing these isometric training exercises and spring exercises to build up my muscle. And what that did is build up my confidence. And it made me better in my sport, got less injured in my sport, and what happened is my school grades started going up as well because I became more confident. As I kept going, my speech impediment, my stuttering started to disappear over time. My school grades went up. So in grade 4 I was getting D's, grade 5 I was getting C's, grade 6 I was getting B's, and grade 7 I was getting A's that laid down a great platform. And by the time I was in grade 7, I was at the top of my martial arts. So I took up Taekwondo as well, and I became really good at that. So all of a sudden, the physical expression and the fundamentals of sport and the martial arts and the discipline and the courtesy and the respect and the humility and all those principles around that. And in sport, the teamwork and the collective cooperation with other kids, all of that sort of added to the mix. That didn't just wasn't just restricted in sport, but transpired into lots of other areas of my life, including my academia. So, from there, that created a great springboard for me to springboard my academic levels of education. I've got a master's degree now. My success in business, my success in sport, my success in my career, my success in my life in general. And I contribute that, a large part of that, to all the fundamental principles and philosophies that I learned going through sport. And obviously in my sport, martial arts, but I also did rugby union, I did cricket, I did AFL, I played soccer, and all those other sports that added to the mix. And it built up my body, it built up my physicality, it built up my confidence, it stimulated my brain, I got better at school, and all of a sudden everything changed. And the other great thing about sport with kids is that it teaches the lessons of life. You know, you don't always win, and if you don't win, then you have to go back to training to get better, to improve, to win if you want to win. It's life is like that. You're not always going to win. A lot of the time you have to miss many times or fail many times before you actually succeed. And that's the great lessons that sport taught me as a young kid into an adolescent, into the teenagers, and into a young man. And now, hey, people call me the old man, but in heart, I'm still a young man in spirit. So I personally experienced all of those magnificent changes, but I didn't know the physiology or the psychology of why that happens. And we now know that physical activity and sport is one of the best things, because it's not just physical activity, it brings in the mix all the other things of communication and teamwork and goal achieving and winning and losing and winning and not losing, winning and learning. As the great founder of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu beautifully said, in Jiu-Jitsu there's no winning and losing, there's just winning and learning. And sport is like that. You know, you don't always win. Life, you don't always win. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's what you do about it after that really counts. And look, I'm a multiple world champion of martial arts, and I've won many, many world titles. To this day, I've won 21 world titles. But people go, wow, you must win all the time. I said, no, I've lost heaps of times. But that's why I win, because I learn my lessons in the losses so I can apply to my next win. And that's the same. I did a master's degree. Wow, you must be really smart and really clever. No, I'm not. I'm still not naturally an academic. I'm not naturally a great athlete. But what I do is I apply those basic principles that I learned. Is number one, never give up, keep moving forward, keep pushing forward, because, you know, hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work. So I've learnt those things, particularly from martial arts, of that discipline and that respect and that humility and persistence and perseverance and that courtesy and all those great tenets and all those great values that martial art teaches you, and other sports do as well. The beautiful thing with martial arts is that you can do it forever. A lot of the sports, you can only do it for a limited time frame because your body tends to fall apart, particularly if you're playing sports such as rugby league or rugby union, or whether it be boxing. You tend to have a limited time span because they're quite physically brutal on the body, because they're very high performance sport. But martial arts, you can continue, and there are a lot of people who still continue their sport in the Masters Games, and I'm going to the Masters, the Pan Pacific Masters Games at the end of next year. And I'm going to be surrounded by thousands of people from, you know, their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. And even into the hundreds, who are still doing their sport because it adds so much value to their life, not just from a physical point of view, but from a mental point of view. Because we know exercise stimulates what we call brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is like fertilizer to the brain. So exercise actually makes you smarter. It actually connects and grows your brain cells, and actually fights against dementia and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and mental health challenges and depression. We already know that. It keeps your mind in a positive mindset. You never do an exercise session and come out negative. You come out feeling good after every exercise session. So if you have children, me being a child and experiencing the magnificent benefits that sport and exercise and resistance training has helped me in my journey, I highly, highly recommend, and I would even call it essential, that kids do some form of sport, something that they love, obviously, that puts a bit of stress on the body, a stress on the mind, because pressure makes diamonds, and stress is a good thing if it's a positive stress pointed in the right direction. And if you get them involved in that, they're going to challenge their mind, challenge their body, challenge themselves to become better. And that guarantee will transfer over to other aspects into their life, because that will build their character. And if you can find a tool that builds their character, then that character will go into all the other important aspects of their life, whether it be in family or relationships or career or school, or when it comes to sport, or whatever it might be. You're always going to take your character with you. Because I built such a great character through my sport of martial arts, I could always handle things, no matter, even if they were new things I never experienced before, but I had the strong character to handle it and push through it, to respond to it, not react to it, in a positive way, to keep moving forward. Because life is going to serve you curveballs, and it's going to throw poo in your face, and it's going to knock you down. But if you have the character, you keep getting up and keep moving forward. Keep getting up and keep moving forward. Because in life, the only time you fail is when you quit, or if you don't start. So if you build that character to go through, for example, in the great thing of martial arts, you can go through the belts, the white belt to yellow to orange to green to blue, the brown, the red to black. So that kicks in. Sometimes you get pushed back and you've got to get back up and push forward and keep pushing forward. In sport, you've got to keep pushing through each game, each training session, each season, to go to the next season, to be better, to go up to the next level, go to the next level. And in that journey, it's not just about playing sport, but it's also important to get fit to play sport. So what I learned at an early age is it's not just doing judo or doing taekwondo, or later in life doing kickboxing, or playing rugby, or playing rugby league or rugby union or rugby cricket. They were my main sports. But then I didn't go to training to compete. I would train to go to training to compete. So I started to train in my own time. So I decided to build my body up to be strong for my sport. So I started doing resistance training. And I started off with the springs and the push-ups and the chin-ups and the isometric work. And that led down to doing formal forms of strength training. And some people still believe now that strength training shouldn't be given to children because it stunts their growth or deteriorates or breaks their epiphyseal lines, which is their growth plates, which we now know from the research that's just not true. You want to get your kids strong to play the sport. Don't get them to play the sport weak, because then they'll get injured. And we do know if you get someone strong by doing controlled resistance training, obviously following the guidelines of safety for children, and they get strong, then they're going to not just enhance their sporting performance, but it will reduce their chances of injury. And when they do get injured, it will speed up their recovery. They recover faster because they're stronger. They've got better hormones and better physiology and better bone mineral density. Because strength training will, yes, it builds your muscles and it builds your strength and it builds your bone mineral density. And if you do that when a child is young, you're building a very strong foundation of physical strength and bone mineral density for them to use as a platform to grow from there. So kids can start strength training at any particular age, whether it be push-ups or doing some light dumbbell work, but always naturally under supervision with a obviously corrected design exercise program using progressive overload techniques. Because every pediatric and orthopedic association in the world and sports medicine association in the world now recommends that children do strength training, because they can get as greater gains in strength as an adult. They may not necessarily at a young age get the muscle hypertrophy or the muscle increase in size due to their lack of hormonal development, but they can still increase their strength through neurological adaptations or neuromuscular adaptations. And that's going to make them strong to play sport and strong to attack life and strong to withstand the stresses of sport. It's interesting that kids will express lots of stressful activities just in being a kid, climbing trees. Not that the kids do that anymore, but in my day we used to climb trees and monkey bars, fall off our bike, wrestle with your neighbours, play kill ball or Red Rover in the playground. A lot of them are quite physically demanding. So therefore, the body is expressing high amounts of force and experiencing high levels of pressure in different activities they're doing now, or they're parking down to a scrum or tackling their little teammate. They're getting a lot of force anyway. So the beautiful thing with strength training is you can control the environment, get them strong in a controlled environment with controlled movement patterns, with minimising or virtually eliminating any form of risk of injury, and get them strong so when they do go into an environment on the football field or the tennis court or the swimming pool where it's less controlled, where they're going to get tackled from the side or they're going to fall off their motocross bike, then when they fall off, they're going to be strong to withstand those awkward or unexpected pressures on the body. And then they can also apply that strength and increase in performance to their sport, to run faster, to lift heavier, to tackle harder, to punch harder, jump higher, hit the ball harder, whatever it might be. Because I found there was a significant benefit for me when I started doing strength training, and there was significant transfer into my football, it transfer into my judo, and transfer into my taekwondo, and even to my cricket and bowling. I was strong, so I actually could bowl faster, I could tackle harder, I could punch harder, and I could withstand more pressures being placed on me. So it's not just the performance, but also the psychological development of the individual, because if you get strong in body, it's also that body is driven by the mind. Because when you go into the gym, you're lifting weight, you're driving the body to keep pushing, don't stop. And you don't stop when you're tired, you stop when the job is actually done. So for young kids from 5 upwards, you can actually do some activities, and obviously you want to, the best way to get a kid moving is to turn the exercise session into a game or an activity or a fun game or a competitive game or a sport or tag, and that way you can disguise getting your kids fit for the future. Because unfortunately children to this day, at this day and age, they're becoming more sedentary, more glued to the social media and their phone. And so we need to try to get that out and get them into the real world. The real world is around you, and get them engaged. And I think a lot of the time it's just creating the environment for kids to enjoy the great outdoors, to enjoy the sport. If you give a kid a football, put him on the field, he'll start kicking the football and running around. But you have to get him on the field. First of all, you have to have the field. If there's no field, no football, he won't go searching for it. So to create an environment that's conducive for activity and games and sport and all that, and you find kids who actually, I remember being at a fun run not long ago, and there was a little kid who was just left by himself, and he didn't have a phone or any social media, so he was just under this tree and he was entertaining himself. So he started jumping up and hitting branches, he started getting his stick and smashing the leaves, then he started playing sword fights with the tree, then he started climbing the tree, then he started swinging from the tree, and then because you left him by himself with a stick and a tree, then he actually found things to do. I know when I was a kid in New Guinea, growing up, I wasn't allowed in the house until after 6 o'clock. So I'd come back from school at just before 3 o'clock, and I was not allowed now. I could go in, to get a drink of water and an apple. That was it. Not a donut and a Coke or McDonald's and a Fanta. I'd go in, get water and an apple. And I didn't miss the other things because I weren't there. Then I'd be out of the house. I wasn't allowed in the house until 6 o'clock. So when I'm outside New Guinea, there's no TV, there's no mobile phones, there's nothing. Phones were connected to the war, and in New Guinea there was, even that had very limitations. We didn't even have TV back in those days. But I always found things to do. Go out and play in the bush, play with the local natives, go and climb trees, go and play some football, play some backyard cricket, whatever it might be. I always found things to do because I had nothing to do, so I found something to do. And that was a very physical environment for me because you had to do that. The other thing is on weekends, I had to be out of the house by 8 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't let back in the house until 6 o'clock. So my parents would kick me out because they didn't want me just hanging around the house doing nothing, reading comics. They wanted to be out being active. So on weekends I had to find, so I'd go my next door neighbour with Peter Merv, would make canoes and go canoeing, would go hiking, would go and build things, would go and climb mountains, would climb trees, would go and climb mango trees and get the mangoes and go down to cocoa markets and try to sell mangoes to make a bit of money. But it was all physical. We'd go to the beach and swim out to the lagoon or whatever it might be. That's all we did because that's what my parents did. They just pushed me out there and then let the kids, creativity and innovation, and they'll find things to do if you give them the environment. But if you actually give them a social media connection, then that's where they'll go to. Take that away. So I can't really speak because I'm not a parent, but I have been a child. And I do know my upbringing was very conducive. It's not because my parents told me I had to play sport. They never told me ever to play sport. What they did is they created the environment for me to be active. And when you're active, you want to do active things. Never once did my parents ever say, take up football, or you should take up a martial art, or you should take up cricket. Actually, they were quite the opposite. They just left me to my own devices. My father never used to come in and watch me play my sport. But because I was young, I was always active. I seeked active things to do. And when I could find a seek active thing to do with other kids in a set competitive environment with teamwork, with all the other joys of winning and losing and comradeship and all that, then I was naturally attracted to that. So kids, in my opinion, should play sport because there's winning and losing, and that's what life's about. You get knocked down, you've got to get back up. You get injured. When kids get injured, that's a great thing to do because life will knock you down. So best they learn those lessons when they're young, when they're durable. And the best they break their bones when they're young, when their bones are like rubber or full of cartilage. And when a kid breaks a bone, then it teaches them a lesson to go and heal. The bone will heal stronger than it was beforehand. That's the beautiful thing with a kid going through that development. Bones heal stronger and their mental attitude will heal stronger as well. So yes, don't wrap them in cotton wool and put them in a bubble and try to protect them. Let them go out there and experience life at a young age where it's not going to be life and death. And that's going to build their character. So when they're faced with bigger challenges in life, whether it be life challenges, whether in career challenges, relationship challenges, marriage challenges, financial challenges, when they deal with those big challenges, if they're not prepared at a young age to build that character, to prepare them later in life, when they get them later in life, and they will come, they will just be knocked down so fast. Their self-confidence, their mental health will take a beating. And this day and age, there's lots of people unfortunately suffering from mental health challenges and for a variety of reasons. But if you want to prepare your child for those bigger challenges in life, give them the little challenges when they're playing sport where the consequence isn't so dramatic. It's just losing a game, having a cry in the corner because you lost the game, and then you say, okay, good old kid, have a cry, now let's go back to training and let's go again. Because that's just a part of the game. That's how it is. So, I always say, prepare them in the little steps before they have to take the big steps. Because if you don't prepare them in the little steps before they take the big steps, and they go straight to the big steps, they're going to start to tear hamstrings and hurt themselves and crush their confidence, and they won't want to do it again. But if they do it down here, by the time they get up here, they know how to get back up and have another crack. Get back up and have another crack. Get back up and have another crack. Crack in a different way, with more confidence, with more knowledge, with more experience. And then they're going to become very successful in everything they do in their life. So sport is one of the best things you can do for your child. And obviously I'm very biased. I think martial arts is one of the greatest things that you can possibly do, because martial arts has so many other elements to it. It has has the art, it has obviously the combat sport, it has the discipline, it has the respect. Because when you develop a fighting art, the beautiful thing I've learned when I was young, I wanted to take up judo and martial arts so I could beat up all the people who used to tease me. And they didn't bully me, well they did try to bully me, but I just hit back. That didn't stop them, they just ganged up on me. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to learn how to fight so I can fight them all. And that was my approach. I want to learn to fight so I can fight them. And the funny thing is, as I got better at martial arts, and by age 13 I was winning national championships, and I was a black belt at 15, not a junior black belt. I actually graded with the adults. I was that good. They graded me with the men, because at 15 years of age they said, we're not going to give you a junior black belt because you're actually better than men. So by that time, when I did learn how to fight, and I developed the respect of the art of fighting and the respect of the skill that I developed, I respected myself, I respected the skill. So I learnt to fight, so then I could walk away from a fight. Isn't that interesting? So when I learnt to fight, I didn't need to fight anymore. And no one tended to pick on me because I wouldn't let them get to me. Because the old saying, in my day, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And I realised that when people were trying to bully me, that was just an expression of their own self-confidence or their own challenges, and they're just trying to build the confidence by bullying on someone. And it got to the stage where I didn't have to protect myself. I spent my time protecting the weak, because I believe that if you are strong, it is your responsibility to protect the weak. But you have to get yourself strong. And the best way to get yourself strong is to put your children into an environment that's conducive to controlled directional stress, with lots of lessons and character building elements to it, with all the other morals and values and the tenets that come with it, and that's going to develop that child. And yes, will they be knocked down? Yes, but they get back up, they move forward, get knocked back, get back up, move forward, get better and better. And you get them started young, then they're going to turn up to be very strong, high confident, caring, respectful, humble, courteous, successful adults, and then they'll pass that forward on to their children as well. So my sport now is martial arts. I've been doing it since I was 10 years of age, and I still compete to this day. And it brings joy to me when I go to a martial art tournament. I see kids all fighting on the mat in control with their pads and their headgear, and they're punching away. And people say, "Isn't that violence?" I says, "No, that's just life. You think that's violent? You wait till life hits them." There's a great old saying by Bill Gates: "If you think school was tough, you wait till you meet your first boss." Well, best start toughening up in that when you're young, and then you're going to be really tough as you get old, and you be tough where you won't have to use that toughness to abuse that toughness. You use that toughness to help other people to be tough, because with great power becomes great responsibility, as the Spider-Man movie says. So pass it on to your kids. And more kids get into sport, whether it be any sport whatsoever. Obviously I love martial arts. Pick a sport, pick a martial art that really lights your fire, that lightens you up, that energises you. First for me was judo, then taekwondo, then kickboxing, and now I still do all three of them, and also karate. But martial arts may not be your thing, it might be something else. Whatever it is, do something physical to build your body and your mind and your character.